After some more testing, some back and forth with DJI, and a firmware update, there are some cool things about the DJI Focus Pro I want to show you and answer some questions I got in the comments of the review I did. And I'll also demonstrate how to set the system up. Let's talk about it. First, let me answer a burning question quite a few of you asked, which is, does the Focus Pro work with Lumix cameras and native lenses without the use of a focus motor? And the short answer is yes, that does work. But there are some caveats and limitations, which I'll get to in a minute. Another question I got asked is if this also works with a speed booster. Unfortunately, I don't own a speed booster and I haven't been able to get my hands on one. So the answer to that is, I don't know. My review was a pretty long video and I didn't have much time to make it. So in this follow-up review, I want to show you some of the things I didn't talk about in the review. First of which is the ability to lock focus on a particular person. As soon as you start tracking a person by pushing the trigger button, the Focus Pro will lock focus on that person, even though it detects other faces within its range. You can also switch to a different person that it detects by switching off tracking and switching it back on, and it will track whichever face is closest to the camera. The white box around the face it's ready to track gets a thicker border. That's how you can tell. I'd love to see the option to toggle between different faces. For example, by tapping on the person I want to track via the touchscreen of the grip. I tried that, but that doesn't work. What is pretty awesome though, is that when you're tracking a person in AMF mode, and something is about to enter the frame between the subject and the camera, you can just hold the focus wheel, either on the grip or on the hand unit, and the focus will stay where it is and won't jump to whatever is in front of it. And then as soon as that interruption is over, you let go of the wheel and it just continues to track. It's one of the great things about the manual override functionality. So as I was editing this video, I realized that I didn't talk about the normal AF mode at all. So it's now in AF instead of AMF, and you can still track, but you don't have the manual override control. So this wheel does nothing in normal AF. However, what you can do in AF mode is toggle between different faces. So the thing I complained about in AMF is possible in AF, but you lose the manual override control. And the way you can toggle between different faces is just by rotating the wheel either on the grip or on the hand unit to track a different person. In my review, I said this. I also had to really strap down my lenses because the motors would move the lens a little bit when they got to the endpoints. But I'm happy to report that this has significantly improved with the firmware update. When the motors get to the endpoints of the focus throw of the lens, they don't push the lens up or down as much anymore, which to me is an important improvement. And there are some other improvements with this firmware. I'll put them on screen. A quick word from this video's sponsor, OpSpot. The OpSpot Tail Air is a very clever little 4K pan-tilt zoom camera that's packed with features, and they keep improving and adding functionality to it. If you need direct live streaming, AI, human, animal, and object tracking with a 2-axis gimbal, internal recording, the Tail Air has got it all. It's your personal camera operator. You can use gestures to activate tracking, zoom in or out, and start or stop recording. And you can select your framing with the AI Director's Grid. For even more motion control, there's the Smart Remote Controller, that even allows you to let the Tail Air mimic the movement of your hand. You connect the Tail Air however you want, via HDMI, USB-C or via Wi-Fi to your phone or tablet, and start live streaming to your favorite platform directly from within the OpSpot Start app. You can use it as a standalone camera as well, with its internal recording capability to a microSD card up to 512 GB in size, enough for hours and hours of recording. The tail Air is already NDI compatible, but OpSpot are adding SRT support as well with an upcoming firmware update. On top of that, they're also going to come out with the OpSpot Talent, an all-in-one switcher and live streaming device. There's a link in the description if you want to check it out and use this code for a 10% discount. Big thanks to OpSpot for sponsoring this video. Let's look at what the deal is with using the Focus Pro without a focus motor with Lumix cameras and native lenses. Before I get into it, I want to preface this by saying that there is no official support for Lumix cameras yet at the time of recording this video, and I therefore also don't have a list of compatible cameras and lenses. However, there is some working functionality. The way this works is a USB-C cable needs to be plugged into the side of the Focus Pro, the grip, and into the USB-C port of, in my case, the GH6. There's a particular order in which things need to be switched on, otherwise the camera gets confused. So first I'll switch on my GH6, let it boot up completely, and then switch on the Focus Pro grip. This icon will appear on the camera's LCD and the Focus Pro grip will prompt this message. The camera then has to be in manual focus, and that's basically it. It now works with LiDAR autofocus with the lenses I tested, the Panasonic 12-60 f2.8 to f4, and the Panasonic 25-50 f1.7, and I'm assuming that the 10-25 will work as well. However, there are quite a few things to note when using it this way. The first is that the focus is a bit jumpy at times, in a sense that you can see it stepping through the focus range. Not all the time, but it does happen. Which leads me to the second thing I noticed when I switched to manual focus, which works as well. I can now use the wheel on the Focus Pro grip to control manual focus. However, the focus appears to be non-linear, even though the lens is set to linear focus in camera. Non-linear focus makes it very hard to repeat a focus pull. As it turns out, after some more testing, the Panasonic 12-60 behaves in a non-linear way, whereas the 25-50 seems to behave in a linear way. I actually explained non-linear and linear focus in my first ever video on this channel. Another thing to note is that the manual override functionality that we get when it's set up with a focus motor doesn't work with this particular setup, so without the use of a focus motor. Also, when the Focus Pro is plugged into the GH6, and HDMI out is connected to a monitor, there's this annoying thing where most of the info on the GH6's LCD display disappears. And when the Focus Pro is set to manual focus, as soon as you turn the focus wheel, the GH6's focus punch-in is engaged and stays engaged even if it's turned off in the menu. Not a big deal, but somewhat annoying. I hope DJI and Panasonic can iron out those kinks. But I think if and when they do, it's a fantastic way to get super accurate autofocus with native lenses without the use of a focus motor. So next I want to show you how the setup and calibration process works. In my initial review, I already showed you how to rig it up, so we'll pick up from there. After turning on the grip, we first need to set the installation distance of the LiDAR rangefinder in relation to the sensor plane of the camera. With the rangefinder mounted to the hot shoe of the camera, the distance to the GH6's sensor is 56 millimeters. I measured it so you don't have to. Then we either do the calibration via the grip or hand unit, or we connect our phone via the Ronin app and do the calibration from there. It asks you to set the focal length. With a zoom lens, I set the focal length at somewhere in the middle of the zoom range. And with a prime, obviously, you set the focal length. Next, it will calibrate the focus throw. And we get the following screen where we need to have something in focus at 1 meter distance, confirm it, and then one more time at 4 meters away. After that, we're all set. Alternatively, if our particular lens is listed in the presets, We can use the app to quickly calibrate the system. Using one of the presets eliminates the step where we need to focus on something at 1 and 4 meters away. It works great, and we also have the ability to fine-tune it afterwards as well. I hope DJI will add more lenses to this list. Now, on to another thing I said in my initial review. I'm going to have to rethink my whole camera rig because I don't have any space for a top handle now. It would be nice if DJI could make a rangefinder bracket that goes around a top handle. I searched for a solution online and haven't come across any third-party solutions yet. I hope a company like SmallRig, Tilta or Nitze will design something for it, but for the time being I made a custom bracket out of some aluminium. I can mount it to the front of my top handle and it works fine. And no, I don't have a 3D printer or know how to design something in 3D, so this is just old school, simple DIY. I also tested putting the rangefinder off to the side, like it is here, in the right side cold tube mount of my cage. And I have to say that actually works pretty well. But for better accuracy and a symmetrical field of view, centered is the way to go, obviously. So I hope this answers some of the questions you guys had. I think there's still room for improvement for the integration with Lumix cameras and lenses, but the potential is definitely there with the Focus Pro. There's a link in the description if you want to check it out. I hope this video was helpful. If so, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and maybe hit that notification bell. Follow me on Instagram, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks for watching.